The rain poured outside, wailing like angry spirits in the afternoon. In the soft light filtering through the window, 15-year-old Aminah stood quietly in the corner by the kitchen. Her dark skin glowed in the dimness, her tall frame resembling a young palm tree. Her eyes sparkled like stars, but those same eyes were filled with tears, the result of a long day spent silently doing everything asked of her. "Do you think you can escape from house chores after bringing so much bad luck to us?" Daniel shouted, his voice slicing through the air of their small mud house like a sharp knife. "Because of you, I missed my job interview at the big company in town. You didn't wake me up on time," Vera screamed, pointing at Aminah like she was the cause of all their misfortune. Mama Kemi, the stepmother, stood up from her wooden chair, her face twisted in fury, a storm cloud ready to burst. "You witch! I know you want to destroy me just like you destroyed your mother the moment you were born. But what happened next? Well, it will shock you." Aminah, cast out into the dark, dangerous night, did something so unexpected, so powerful, it changed everything. And I mean everything. When Aminah was just 7 years old, her mother, Mama Folktale, was the most beautiful woman in the village. She had a smile that could make flowers bloom and a voice that sounded like honey mixed with music. Everyone loved her. But during childbirth with her second baby, something went wrong. The baby died and Mama Folktale followed 3 days later, her body too weak to fight the fever that burned through her like fire. Little Aminah didn't understand why her mama wouldn't wake up. She sat by the cold body for 2 whole days, shaking her mother's arm and begging her to open her eyes. "Mama, please wake up. I promise I'll be a good girl. I promise I won't cry anymore." But Mama Folktale never opened her eyes again. Papa Jide was so broken by grief that he couldn't even look at Aminah without crying. Every time he saw her face, he saw his dead wife staring back at him. For 2 years, father and daughter lived like ghosts in their own house. Papa Jide would go to his farm and come back at night without saying a single word. Aminah would cook whatever food she could find and clean the house, hoping that if she worked hard enough, her father would love her again. But he never did. Then came Mama Kemi. Mama Kemi was a widow with a daughter named Vera. She was not ugly, but she was not beautiful either. She had small eyes like a snake and a mouth that always seemed to be planning something wicked. When she saw Papa Jide's farm and his small savings, she decided he would be her new husband. "Papa Jide," she said one day, bringing him hot food and sweet words, "a man like you shouldn't be living alone. You need a woman to take care of you." Papa Jide, lonely and tired of sadness, thought maybe a new wife would bring happiness back to his house. He was wrong. So very wrong. The day after the wedding, Mama Kemi's true face appeared like a devil taking off its mask. "Listen here, you little pest," she told 9-year-old Aminah when Papa Jide was at the farm. "I am the woman of this house now. You will do exactly what I say, or you will suffer." From that day forward, Aminah's life became a living nightmare. While Vera slept on a soft mattress, Aminah slept on the hard floor. While Vera ate chicken and rice, Aminah ate leftover scraps. While Vera played with other children, Aminah worked like a slave. Every morning, Aminah would wake up at 4 a.m. when the world was still dark and quiet. She would sweep the compound, fetch water from the well that was so far away her arms felt like they would fall off, wash everyone's clothes in the cold stream, and cook breakfast before anyone else woke up. And what did she get for all this work? "You stupid girl! This food is too salty. You lazy child, why didn't you cling behind the stove? You worthless thing! Can't you do anything right?" She slaps her. Every day, Mama Kemi would find something to complain about. Every day, she would hit Aminah for some small mistake. And Papa Jide? He would sit there like a statue, watching his daughter suffer, too weak to speak up against his wife. By the time Aminah was 15, she had grown into a stunning young woman despite all the hardship. Her beauty made Mama Kemi even more jealous and cruel. "Look at her, walking around like she thinks she's a princess," Mama Kemi would whisper to Vera. "We need to put her in her place before she starts thinking she's better than us." The torture got worse. Mama Kemi would wake Aminah up in the middle of the night to clean things that were already clean. She would hide Aminah's food and then beat her for stealing. She would tear Aminah's clothes and then punish her for looking like a beggar. But the worst part wasn't the physical pain. It was watching her father do nothing. Every time Mama Kemi raised her hand to hit Aminah, Papa Jide would look away like he couldn't see what was happening. Aminah had no choice. One night, after a particularly brutal beating, Aminah lay on the kitchen floor, her body aching with pain. She gazed up at the ceiling and whispered to herself, "Is it wrong to have a stepmother? Why do I suffer as though I were adopted into this family? I can't do this anymore. I will fight back." She had reached her breaking point, ready to retaliate with everything she had. But in a sudden moment of clarity, she decided to leave it all in God's hands, and that decision changed everything. A few days earlier, Vera had an important job interview at a big company in the next town. She was supposed to wake up early, but as usual, she overslept because she was too lazy to set an alarm. When she woke up at 10 a.m. and realized she had missed her 8 a.m. interview, she needed someone to blame. And who was the perfect target? Aminah, of course. "Aminah!" Vera screamed like a wild animal. "You witch! You did this on purpose!" "But sister, you told me not to disturb your sleep. You said, 'Shut up! You're lying!'" The whole house erupted like a volcano. Even the neighbors came out to see what was happening. "Do you think you can get free from house chores after you have brought so much bad luck to us?" Daniel shouted, standing with anger. "Just because of you, I missed the job that could have changed my life. You didn't wake me up because you're jealous of my success." Vera screamed, her face red with anger. Mama Kemi stood up slowly, her eyes burning with hatred. "You witch! I know you want to destroy me, just like you destroyed your mother the moment you were born." Those words hit Aminah like lightning. She had always wondered if her mother's death was somehow her fault. But hearing it said out loud was like having her heart ripped out of her chest. "Pack your things and get out of my house," Mama Kemi continued. "You are nothing but a curse. Since you came into our lives, nothing good has happened." Thunder crashed above them like the sky was breaking into pieces. Lightning flashed, making scary shadows dance on the walls like demons celebrating. But, Mama Kemi, where will I go? It's dark outside and the rain. I don't care if you die in the forest with the wild animals. Just get out. Aminah looked at her father, her eyes begging him to say something, anything, to protect her. But Papa Jida just sat there like a coward, too afraid of his wife to defend his own daughter. Papa, Aminah whispered, please don't let her throw me out. I have nowhere to go. Papa Jide looked at her for a long moment. For a second, Aminah thought she saw love in his eyes. But then he looked away. Maybe it's better this way, he said quietly. Maybe you'll find a better life somewhere else. Those words broke Aminah's heart into a million pieces. With shaking hands, she packed her few belongings. 2 old dresses with holes, the necklace her mother gave her, and a small piece of bread she had hidden for emergencies. As she walked toward the door, Vera laughed like a demon. Finally! Now I can have the whole room to myself. Don't come back, you hear me? We never want to see your cursed face again. Aminah stepped out into the storm. The rain hit her like icy bullets. The wind howled like all the spirits of the dead were crying together. But as she walked away from the only home she had ever known, something strange happened inside her heart. She felt angry. Not sad, not broken, angry. For the first time in her life, instead of crying, she felt fire burning in her chest. You want to throw me out like garbage, she whispered to the storm. Fine, but one day you will regret this. One day you will wish you had treated me with kindness. She didn't know it yet, but this anger would be the fuel that would drive her to greatness. But first, she had to survive the night. Aminah walked through the muddy streets of the township, her feet making squishing sounds with every step. The houses around her were dark and quiet. Even the street dogs had found shelter from the storm. Her clothes were soaked through. Her body was shivering like a leaf in the wind. Her stomach was growling like a hungry lion. She found a small space under a shop's roof and sat down, hugging her knees to her chest. God, she prayed, if you can hear me, please help me. I don't want to die like this. But as the hours passed and the storm got worse, she began to lose hope. By 3 a.m., she was so cold that she couldn't feel her fingers anymore. Her lips were blue and her whole body was shaking uncontrollably. Maybe I should just go back and beg them to let me in, she thought. Maybe if I promise to work even harder, they'll forgive me. She actually stood up and started walking back toward the house. But then she heard a voice. Don't go back to Egypt, my child. Your promised land is ahead of you, not behind you. She stopped walking and sat on the floor. She remembered what her mum used to say to her, champions are not made in comfort, they are made in the fire of adversity. Keep walking forward. So she did. She turned around and kept walking away from her old life, even though every part of her body wanted to give up. Just when Aminah thought she couldn't walk another step, she saw a small light in the distance. Under a tiny shed made of old wooden planks and rusty metal sheets, an old woman was sitting beside a small fire. The woman's face was wrinkled like ancient tree bark, but her eyes were bright and kind like warm honey. She was wearing old clothes, but they were clean and neat. Child, come here," the old woman called softly. Something about her voice made Aminah feel safe, so she approached slowly. "Mama, I don't want to disturb you." "Nonsense. A young girl like you shouldn't be out this storm. Come, sit by my fire and get warm." Aminah sat down gratefully. The warmth from the small fire felt like heaven on her frozen skin. The old woman looked at her with wise eyes that seemed to see everything. "Tell me, child, what brings you out on a night like this?" So Aminah told her story. She talked about her mother's death, her father's weakness, Mama Kemi's cruelty, and the events of that terrible night. As she spoke, tears mixed with rainwater on her face, but she didn't notice because she was so focused on finally having someone listen to her. The old woman listened to every word without interrupting. When Aminah finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she smiled, and her smile was like sunshine breaking through storm clouds. "My dear child, do you know what I see when I look at you? A cursed girl who brings bad luck wherever she goes?" No, the old woman shook her head. "I see a diamond that has been buried in the dirt for too long. I see a queen who doesn't know she's royalty yet. I see greatness wrapped in temporary hardship." She reached into her old bag and pulled out some roasted corn and ground nuts. "Eat this. You need strength for the journey ahead." The food was the most delicious thing Aminah had ever tasted, maybe because she was so hungry, or maybe because it was given with love. "Listen carefully, my child," the old woman said as Aminah ate. "Sometimes God allows us to go through terrible things, not to punish us, but to prepare us for something amazing. Your stepmother thinks she's destroying you, but she's actually building your character." From her bag, she pulled out a small, strange-looking seed. It was black with silver lines running through it, and when she placed it in Aminah's palm, it felt warm like it was alive. "This is a seed of destiny," the old woman explained. "Plant it when you find your new home. But remember, you must water it only with tears of joy, not sadness." "But how will I know when I'm crying tears of joy instead of sadness?" The old woman's eyes twinkled. "Oh, you'll know, my dear. You'll definitely know." Aminah looked down at the seed, and when she looked up to ask another question, the old woman was gone. Completely gone. Not a trace of her anywhere. The fire was still burning, the food was still in Aminah's hand, and the seed was still warm in her palm, but the mysterious old woman had vanished like smoke in the wind. Was I dreaming? Aminah wondered aloud. But the seed in her hand was real. The warmth in her belly from the food was real. And for the first time in years, the hope in her heart felt real too. When morning came, Aminah started walking. She didn't know where she was going, but she knew she couldn't stay where she was. Her feet were sore and blistered. Her stomach was empty again. Her clothes were dirty and torn. But something inside her was different now. She wasn't just running away from her old life anymore. She was walking towards something new, something better. The problem was she had no idea what that something was. For 3 days, she walked from town to town, asking for work, begging for food, sleeping wherever she could find shelter. Most people looked at her like she was a dangerous animal and told her to move along. Some people were kind enough to give her a piece of bread or a cup of water. But nobody wanted to help a homeless teenage girl with no family and no references. On the 3rd night, as she sat under a bridge feeling sorry for herself, she almost gave up again. Maybe Mama Kemi was right, she thought. Maybe I really am cursed. Maybe everywhere I go, I bring bad luck. She was so tired, so hungry, so lonely that she considered walking back home and begging for forgiveness. But then she remembered the old woman's words, "Don't go back to Egypt, my child." She also remembered the anger she felt that first night, the determination to prove them wrong. "No," she said out loud, her voice echoing under the bridge. "I will not go back. I will not give up. If the whole world rejects me, I will build my own world." She pulled out the mysterious seed and looked at it in the moonlight. "I don't know how you're going to help me," she whispered to it, "but I'm going to find a place to plant you, and somehow, some way, I'm going to make something beautiful grow from all this pain." Now tell me, my friend, if you were in her shoes, what would you have done? Would you fight back, or would you give up? Share your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want to know what happened next in Aminah's story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell, because part 2 will shock you even more. Don't forget to write where you are watching from. It means a lot to us.